Hey, what's up, guys? Jeremy Jakeway here. Welcome to Ask Shane B. You are about to jump into part 2 of how to lead a rehearsal. We got going a little bit long when we started answering this question, and so we split it into 2 parts. So this is jumping into part 2. We hope you enjoy it. We hope it serves you. We hope it blesses you. We love you guys. Enjoy.
Number 6, minimize confusion. So this is a massive one. I start every rehearsal, and Jeremy's there at a lot of them. First, I pray, I call us to worship in this time, and then I say everything that I know to say. Then this takes about, I would say, 20 minutes on average, that my band doesn't know. So one of the best qualities of a leader that I've heard around here is somebody that eliminates confusion. So I'm going, they know the song because everybody has the Planning Center login, and we even have a text feed going often, moving up. So if there's even any like tweaks on the fly, a lot of times we'll be texting each other. Obviously failed in all of these areas many times, but that's not what I'm worried about. They know the songs. What they don't know is, okay, here's song number 1. Are you going to welcome? Are we going to do announcements? Do you want me to pad? Do you want me to not pad? Do you want me to stay back? And then how are you going to get back in? Do we start the click? When you pray, do I start the click? Do you say something and I start the click? And then we're going to go into song 2. And so how's that work? So going in from the transition from song 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, are you going to have a moment where you call the folks to worship? Are you going to quote any scripture? Are you going to say anything? And so we just dive into, for about 20 minutes, we run all of those moments. Before we run any song, we run those moments. So here we go. This is Amazing Grace is ending. It's in the key of A, and then we're going into How Marvelous in the key of A. Here's the transition. You know, I'm going to sing a down chorus at the end of the song, and then at this moment on this line, you start the click which is in a different time to signature. So everybody beware. There's 6 counts, and then we're in. And so we talk about all those moments and run those moments before we even start rehearsing songs. And so minimizing confusion. So I'm trying to think like a player or a musician. What would I want to know if I played keys? What would I want to know if I played drums? What would I want to know if I played bass or guitar or electric guitar? What would I want to know? And I think something that my guys even said that I have a lot of room to grow in is just taking the time to detail your notes in Planning Center and make sure you have the right versions. If you're doing anything differently, like just documenting that with in a way that they have enough time to get around it. So minimize confusion. Number 7 is I am trying to, in my rehearsal, create the best 17 to 21 minute song that I possibly can. And so a lot of our rehearsal time is spent on the way that I even think about it is kind of like going to Bass Hall here in Fort Worth and seeing an orchestra, and there's like 3 or 4 movements, and sometimes you'll that will happen over the course of 20 or 30 minutes, but there's just these different movements that happen that are really different, but they're all connected, and then there's musical themes that pop in and out. And so I'm kind of thinking like that because I'm so distracted. I'm like such a distracted guy. And so when I think about me dropping off my 4 daughters and all that entails, and coming into church in a parking lot that's full, and I'm walking and I'm like, it takes me till song 7, which doesn't even happen, to just calm down. Right. And so I just want to provide some space for our people to pray and talk to God and think about God and think about a lyric and all that entails in the way we get from one song to the other, which we'll do another podcast on song transitions, and that would be a blast of just making that time in those movements all about Jesus, all about the glory of Jesus, and all about how that would influence their lives, and doing that. So eliminate distractions, flow of the lyric, flow from song to song. There we go. Number 8, the last one is become a producer. Worship leaders, just become a producer. That doesn't mean like become a Nashville-style producer. This is more of like just begin to imagine what it would be like if somebody asked you to play keys. In fact, it would probably be really good for you. I've done that a few times, and I don't know if there's anything more helpful than to just actually get on the worship initiative, learn the part, and then have to do it and pull it off in time. I'm transposing everything to C, or G, and just start thinking like your players. Like when you listen to music, pay attention. Like, is the kick, is there a 4 on the floor kind of a beat, or is there like a broken beat? Is it boom, check it, boom, boom, check? Just start whatever that language is, because as you start to become a producer, you're going to find a vocabulary to be able to communicate with your band. And I don't know how many times I've heard from band members, out and about, of just like, I have no idea how to transpose. That was just kind of, if we could just be more, I don't know, mushy, or just all of the vague language of like, I don't really know, that just didn't sound right. Just don't do that. And then it leaves a band like, okay, first of all, I guess, and they're frustrated because it's like, well, I don't even know what I did wrong. I don't even know how to correct it. It's like, no, what you guys, we all hit together, and it was a big diamond, and I'm kind of looking for this suck out choke kind of moment. And so if you start paying attention and you develop this vocabulary that you can boom chukka with the drums, and you can sing a beat, or you can clap a beat, or you can do something, you can talk about just simple eighth notes and 16th notes and quarter notes and whole notes, as far as whatever. It doesn't have to be crazy. For the most part, the music that we play is not crazy.
Right.
It's pretty basic stuff. And so become a student of music that understands and listens for the parts of a song. Sometimes there's 2 electric parts, but you only have 1 electric player, and you don't know what to say to them because you don't know. You don't know. And so it would be worth it for you to spend some time just in your car as you drive, just being aware of that kind of stuff, and it actually becomes really fun. Understanding sonic frequency. So this would just be like, maybe somebody has a Mac, or you have a Mac and you have GarageBand, and you start seeing like a sound guy of like, oh man, that low frequency pad that the keys are playing is basically making the electric guitar unaudible. And so like we need to like drop that left hand and just maybe have him play his right hand, because now you can actually hear. And so there's this sonic frequency range that we're all trying to fit in and be a cohesive group and trying to serve everybody. And so just understanding that kind of stuff. And so and we'll be having all kinds of classes on that, which I'm so excited about. Develop a love. Something that's producers do well, or good producers in my opinion, is they have a deep love for fundamentals. And I didn't know when I started music. I was like, it's like, yeah, you kind of have a problem with playing in time. I'm like, no, I don't. That's what I do. I was kind of I'm a closet tapper and drummer, and I'm a rhythm guitar player. It's like, what are you talking about? And then you put me in a studio and put me in the red and let me record a few bars, and then I just see it lining up with a grid, and I'm like, oh no, here we go, man. 20 years later, and it's just like, I'm a little bit better as I just spend a lot of time. And I love fundamentals now. I love time. I love being in tune. I love playing in harmony. I love those things. I love those things more than I do chops now. I used to love chops. Now I just love fundamentals. Are so great. Knowing the song, coming in prepared, like just sitting inside of a vision and a mission, presenting something that's solid so that people can look at Jesus, talk to Jesus, focus on Jesus. You can become less, he can become more. And so becoming a producer and a student of music is a great thing to start. So anyway, 8 things that you can take. Don't take them to the bank, but take them somewhere.
It's great stuff. I think all of that's really helpful. I think for really any worship leader, any musician listening to this too, the big thing is just it's communication. I think one of the most helpful things in there is removing confusion. So many band members frustrated because they just don't know what it is that you want.
Yeah.
And then for worship leaders and musicians, for sure, the preparation piece just can't be harped on enough to like set everyone up for success, to come in. I mean, I've worked like
really hard to never come into a rehearsal to practice my part.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to pull something off in rehearsal. If I haven't worked on it, I'm going to go way back. If it's something that's a little more complex, I'm going way back to fundamentals, and we're just going to do something that I know is going to work because you don't have the time. And so you have a really unique opportunity to shepherd your team in that way, create good expectations, all that stuff. So I think all that's really helpful. Hope this is, go ahead.
I think something too. I think we might split this up. So you might be listening to part 2 right now, because we're going a little bit long, and just to have a helpful nugget too, because I don't want you to rush through what you have to say first of all, because Jeremy is like, he should do his own podcast on rehearsals, and everything else that we're talking about, and so anything that comes to your mind, first of all, I want you to share. But one of the things we deal with too is you have players that are growing. They're mid-level players or beginner-level players, and we're moving them along. And then you have your kind of intermediate or advanced players who maybe grew up in a jazz band or grew up in playing in band in high school, and then even in college they moved into that, or a vocal performance major, or I played classical piano from the time I was 7 till I was 27. And a lot of times those players are a little bit more difficult to move into a worship genre and in a rehearsal setting, because those players who are really gifted, I mean, it's just like you could just make a living, go to the nicest steakhouse in your town and just ask them when you can audition, and I know they want you. You're the one they want. And but in a coming around the songs that we're playing, whether it's a simple hymn or whether it's a more contemporary song, there's just so much happening, as if they were playing the song in that restaurant with no other band member. So they have a harder time. Somebody who's classically trained, especially in the area of keys and sometimes electric guitar, if you just grew up in a band where you just love to shred, and they have a really hard time going, where do I fit in this piece of 5 people or 4 people or 3 people or 7 people or 9 people? And I have a harder time training and pushing those folks to, one, often they don't have great time. They're rushing often. If you take a beginner or intermediate, you're starting with fundamentals. And so that's where you're starting. You're not starting with anything crazy or fancy. You're just, okay, here we go. Quarter notes. You ready? You and me. Welcome to the Worship Initiative. And you're just doing that. If you have somebody who is really good, they want to show you they're good, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But I would say to those players, or maybe some things that you can say to those kinds of players, Justin and Justin's out there, is, man, I think the best starting place for you is to just play exactly what you hear on the version we put up on Planning Center, and make that, that might be boring. That might seem like, oh, they basically just played 3 notes the whole, but just know that the folks coming around that song, they are fantastic at all these different camps of music that we like to listen to. They're fantastic at what they do, and they're putting together a song in a way that's amazing. And that would just be a really great starting place. If you have, it's one thing if you don't have the instruments, but if you have all these instruments that are represented on these songs, then a really great place to start would just be, I want to see if you can play every single note and make it sound like that. Which, again, we're going to start going down those pathways of like, okay, how do we download main stage on our computer and start helping folks walk toward the way where I can hear something and I can replicate it. But that would be a great place to start for the advanced player, or some language that you can bring in is, man, I love your gift. And when we have a church staff party, I want to get a piano, and would you just play? Mm-hmm. But in this context, when we are like trying to create this 17 to 20 minute song, and we're trying to get rid of distractions, and we're trying to take the mud out of the low mids, and we start to develop this, you can just really provide something beautiful.
Yep.
We had a guy here named Grant Pittman who played in our band at our church, and I just thought he was just a really solid church player guy. I mean, like, man, you never miss a beat. I mean, hooks, hidden hooks, little things, and sounds are changing in sections, and he just never missed a beat. And then we're like, maybe we kind of need to bring somebody on tour. We're going on tour with Phil Wickham on a Christmas tour, and we're doing a song, It's Beginning to Look a Lot Like Christmas, which just kind of has tons of chords and really jazzy. And we're like, God, it wouldn't be any way you could like solo. All I thought he could do is play 1, 4, 5, and 6, maybe a 2 occasionally, and just play it in time with some really great tone. That's about all that I thought Grant could do. Come to find out, he's world renowned and had a crazy education at North Texas.
Yeah.
And can play at any level, doing anything like that, especially when it comes to jazz, gospel, and he never showed. It was like that was 2 years into knowing him.
Yeah, to pull it out of him. Yeah.
I would have never thought. He's like, how can I come in and serve this song?
Yep.
And that's the guy we took on tour. I never heard him fiddle around, not even in sound check.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why. It's not that if he would have fiddled, I would have, I love fiddling too. All that to say, is just to be patient and be honest with our players, whether they're way above their pay grade or way below their pay grade, whatever that is. I know a lot of our players are volunteer, so just be patient, help them understand where you're coming. And a lot of this stuff, when you're creating a vision and trying to get rid of anything that's confusing is helpful to them.
That's great. I think just being willing, like you said, being willing to have those conversations with your guys of saying, in providing and trying to provide yourself with the vocabulary you need to do that in a way that's helpful.
Yeah.
Like that's something you do really well, Shane, is when you've got feedback from me on a part or want me to do something different, or if we're going to often I'm going to always have that, the part on the record is my starting place. Like I'm going to prep it, to the note as best I can, just because I know then at least we can operate within that.
Totally.
Right?
It's great place.
And so if you, again, make that the expectation, communicate with your band, like this is where I'd like you guys to start. If we can come in here every week and we know we're starting here, everybody's got it, or at least a version, a fun, maybe a down a couple steps fundamentally version of it, but not the other side of it, not more complex, whatever.
Yes.
We're starting there. Then we can move within it if we want to, right?
Yep.
You can take that creative time if you need to or want to.
Yep.
But when you want me to change or want me to do something different or whatever, you've put in the time to be really intentional about how you're communicating to me about what you want me to do. It's never I just kind of want it gushier.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then I don't know what to do. Okay, we don't have time to trial and error this.
Yeah.
And so you were very clear about instead of 4 on the floor with your kick drum, play your kick drum on these beats.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, great. I can execute on that. And we've got enough rapport and have had enough time where, and that's just something worship leaders, you have to fight for is that relational dynamic where I'm not, or at least I have to fight not to get insecure about that I believe that you're trying to accomplish playing our role as leading worship for the body.
That's good.
You are trying to accomplish that. You're not trying to call into question my ability.
Yeah,
and,
it's huge.
And I don't have to receive it that way. I might, if I'm not abiding in Christ and surrounded with community and reminding myself of what's true. And you have a great opportunity as a worship leader to root that out at the beginning. That's your 2 minutes of listen, we're going to go through this. I love all of you. I trust all of you. Here we go. We're going to dig in. And so anyways, as you start to give that feedback and work to be really specific with it and find the vocabulary that's helpful for each different musician and all that kind of stuff, it starts to bring unity. It starts to make it more fun. It starts to make it more free. And you feel more like a team. It doesn't feel like you're just trudging to get like, okay, I hope we're gonna pull this off. I mean, we get there. There's some services where it's like, man, this didn't come together, and I hope this works. Yeah. Like we didn't get to rehearse as long as we wanted to. But so I think it's all communication. It's all how you're framing your relationships and putting in the work for your band and for yourself. Putting in the work to know how to communicate with your band, and for your band to put in the work to. Like you creating that expectation. I'm expecting you when you play this role to come prepared, and because we're not serving the body, we're not playing our role if we're wasting time because we weren't diligent and disciplined to come prepared.
We should make a website.
Maybe we should make a website.
One side note that made me think of that when Jeremy was saying, worship leaders, I know we're addressing you mainly today, is our worship leader here at Watermark. This is not his A gift.
Right.
Leading a rehearsal, becoming a producer. He's taken some time to take steps toward that. It's just not, he just hasn't got there as fast as he wants to. And so what he has done is recognized gifts in other folks. And so he has 2 or 3 other folks that they do and have taken the time to become a student of music. They understand parts. They're like, no, that's not really what, that's not what the electric was doing. Here's the lead line, and those kinds of people come alongside of him, and he kind of pastors the rehearsal. And then he's had these really clear, well, you do these things. And then they have in our services, we have a mic that is just in our in-ears. And so that person is calling out changes so everybody's remembering, and calling out transitions that were just rehearsed and or sometimes rehearsed the day before that you're having to try to dial up and remember. And so that guy is making notes and coming alongside of that. So anyway, don't get discouraged if you're like, man, your A gift is, man, I'm just kind of a shepherd, and God gave me a good voice, and I'm a fireman with 3 kids, and I'm doing the best I can. Sure. Don't get discouraged, and just move forward. And sometimes that takes just recognizing ability, or maybe bringing somebody in that they have ability that can help speak into some things.
And even asking your musicians in your band, hey, what would be helpful for me to say? How can I communicate with you? I mean, let them tell you. Like if it's like, I don't know the technical terms to tell you.
Yeah.
Can you think of some ways that would be helpful for me to communicate with you? Just invite them into it. Don't put the pressure on yourself to like go get it right. Like ask your drummer, like what would be a better way for us to nail this down, for me to communicate in a way that's not frustrating to you? I mean, just invite them in.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Good stuff. Guys. Well, hope this is helpful for you guys. Hopefully we can post down in the show notes a lot of the points from that Shane talked about today for leading an effective rehearsal. But guys, keep sending in your questions to us at AskShaneB@worshipinitiative.com. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss an episode. We are loving answering all your questions, so keep them coming. We love you guys. We're praying for you. We'll see you next time.